The podcast that I listened to was called Piecemeal, and it was on Spotify. It was called Occupational Therapy and Eating Disorders. And I wanted to listen to this because we had touched upon eating disorders, but we had never come back to it. And so I was interested to learn more. In the podcast, there is a pediatric OT. Her name is Maddie Duzick, and she talks about how when she was younger, she used to have an eating disorder. So for her doctoral capstone, she worked with the adolescent population who have an eating disorder. She explains how this population can feel a great deal of identity loss because this eating disorder is all-consuming. It takes over their life, and they can lose sight as to their own interests and values and things that they like to do on a day-to-day because they have to plan it around like a crazy diet or a fitness routine, something that they have to keep up with because of their eating disorder. So what I learned from this podcast and from when we were learning about grant proposal writing is that there's such a drastic shift in support that someone can get from inpatient to outpatient. When we are working with Dr. Angetti, who works at the BMC, which is an inpatient facility, he was saying how families of adolescents, they have such a hard time finding the support that they need when they're discharged. It makes sense. When you're inpatient, you have all the resources you need. The specialist comes see you every day and they make sure that you're following a routine. But when you get discharged, you're pretty much on your own. You have to figure out how to manage your own life, and it's really hard, especially for people with an eating disorder. So Maddie also talks about how mental health is still an emerging area in OT. Most doctors and practitioners don't even think about using OT to treat someone with an eating disorder. And yet, our OT perspective, our OT lens is so beneficial with working with this population. We can look at their performance patterns and implement strategies to change their daily habits and routines. Even though it's not mentioned in the podcast, I can see OTs using CBT and DBT to help clients find their triggers and to figure out how to accept themselves and their body image. Maddie shares some tips for interventions when working with this population. Number 1, to help clients feel like they have autonomy or control over their life. This will help them separate their own identity from the eating disorder, because an eating disorder can really just take over your life. And so in treatment, to give them many opportunities to choose what they want to do. For example, to eat lunch A or B, or to listen to music or to draw while they're eating at the dinner table. These small little things make them feel like they have control over their life. Number 2, to role play to prepare for social triggers. Because, when this individual goes out into the world and someone says, "Oh, wow, it looks like you're eating a lot," or, "Oh, it looks like you gained weight," this can be really triggering for these individuals and can make them feel shameful and guilty. So during treatment, when you can role play and go through all the scenarios possible so that they're prepared for when this happens, it is really beneficial to the individual. And lastly, from my own perspective, I feel that adolescents and young adults are highly susceptible to developing an eating disorder because of the unrealistic standards that are portrayed on social media. And so in the future, I see OT playing a greater role in mental health and being able to treat individuals with an eating disorder.